Hello, and welcome to another video podcast.
Don't do that. This is gross.
If you feel like a grape and you only have raisins,
Don't do that.
you have two nostrils.
This wins the most disgusting episode so far.
It's something that I still do, and I still do it and love it.
Don't do that.
Look, awards are great. Some are obviously more prestigious than others.
This month, coming up right here on this podcast.
Speaking of things that you may not want to know,
Come sit in somebody's lap.
Don't do that.
People know I hire talent sometimes, so I get 500 business cards at the conference too. Guess what? They stay in the room when I leave.
They wanted a British accent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
And I don't have any samples with a British accent.
what up? Welcome back to another VO podcast. It's me, Jake Sanders. I'm here with Troy and Alden. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good.
Doing
Good.
okay. Doing okay.
Good.
Sustaining the Arctic front that came through, but we're good.
Yeah, what did it get down to, like 18 the other night?
Yeah, pretty cold.
18 last night here.
That's what's up.
And you know what we do here in the country? You just throw another dog on the bed, and she literally had 2 dogs and 3 cats in the bed. So,
Well, where were you going to sleep?
I had to move them out eventually because now that I'm doing this BiPAP machine, I have to get in that dead man position and lay still with that thing on my face. So yeah, I had to move them out.
Good
I
deal.
kept the
They
bed
stayed in
warm
the
for
house,
you, right?
Yeah, the bed was warm.
Yeah.
The bed was warm.
Well, guys, thanks for joining me today. We actually have another guest on today, which I'm super excited. Yeah, man. Hey, surprise. No.
Taking us right into the new year.
Taking us right into the new year. Guys, our guest today is Mr. Jeff Williams. Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, man, doing
Pretty
good.
good.
Doing good.
Staying busy.
So for those our listeners that are listening in, Jeff is a voice actor as well. Surprise again there, but you weren't expecting that. But he's
podcast?
also, sorry, what'd you say?
A
Alden?
voice actor guest on a VO podcast. There you go.
Yeah, I know. We're breaking. We're starting new trends here, But in addition to being a voice actor, I see he is an accomplished chiropractor. Are you still practicing, Jeff?
I am. Yeah, I worked all morning.
Oh, really?
I did.
So, what does a normal day look like for you then? If you do you divvy up your week between chiropractor and voiceover? Does your day kind of have a little bit of both in there? Like,
It's definitely a little bit of both, and it's a challenge. I started this when the pandemic, like so many other folks, when the pandemic came along. But if you think about it, being a healthcare clinic owner, it's not just chiropractic. I have a nurse practitioner that works for me. So we're a medical clinic as well. I have a acupuncturist, a couple of massage therapists, and we do exercise, all kinds of stuff. So all in one roof. So it's a pretty big deal, I think. And so if you remember, nobody was going into healthcare clinics. Nobody was going anywhere.
Right.
But it was the emergency room, and that was it. So the rest of us were just kind of out there going, well, what are we going to do now? And how long is this thing going to last? And nobody knew. And I kind of started searching around for. I'm a go-getter, man. I'm a hustler if I got to be, whatever it's going. But we're going to take care of our family, right? And so
right.
So I got busy, and the thing just kind of blew up on me. Fortunately, in a great way, in a blessed way, it blew up. And next thing you know, I've got 2 full-time jobs all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So it's just been finding a way to combine all of that and make it all work together. So I already had 2-hour lunches because I'm high maintenance.
Sure.
So I already had the 2-hour lunches, and I just extended it by 30 minutes on each end to make room for voiceover stuff.
Wow.
And I take care of the rest of the auditions when I get home at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. We'll go out and eat or whatever, and do a little family time. And then 10 o'clock at night or so, we'll knock out some auditions, and then climb up in the bed and watch every streaming addiction we might have, whether it's Suits or Blacklist or Mentalist.
Yeah.
A good one if you hadn't seen that one.
Haven't yet, but I've heard good things about Suits, and apparently it's kind of been making its way back to popularity because it came out a while ago, and then it's recently kind of picked up a lot of.
I just started watching that one.
Yeah, my dad's really liking it.
Yeah, we enjoyed Mentalist.
And I've been watching an odd one, Trophy Wife. I don't know if anybody's watched Trophy Wife. It's older, but I was actually watching last year the new show that came out. Was it called something about Todd? And Todd was the guy's name, and he's this bumbling son to this lady that's an attorney. Well, she and her name's escaping me, but she's in this this model or whatever it was, Trophy Wife thing. So it's pretty good. And then we got hung up on all the Viking shows. Oh. I mean, we've watched it started, with Game of Thrones, and then we went into like 4 other Viking shows, and we just finished those.
It's fun.
It is.
We get whatever we can. There's not a lot of that whole work-life balance thing does not exist around here at the moment. But, I'm kind of looking at it as I go to work. I'm seeing patients from 9 in the morning till 11:30. Then we come home, do voiceover, and any kind of sessions are usually I'm able to schedule them then, and then go back to work about 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. Work till about 6:30, and so far we're fitting it together. But there's a means to an end. We're trying to grow it to a point where I can pull in some baby chiropractors, get them trained up, so that I can kind of. That meme or that gif where Homer Simpson starts fading into the bush?
Yeah.
I want to start fading back into the bushes a little bit and doing more voiceover and being as full-time with voiceover as I can in the next couple of years. And I also say nothing against baristas, but I would say that their income level is a different income level than maybe a doctorate or something like that. So if I were a barista, I'd already be full-time a long time ago. But it's really hard to it's harder to replace my normal yearly income. So I'm not full-time yet, but we're working that direction.
Yeah, that's great, man. So let me ask you this, and I know you said you got started in voiceover during the pandemic. So like what, and if I missed this, I'm so sorry. What led you to voiceover? Like what made you think, I mean, I know obviously you said, we got to take care of the family and whatnot, but like why land on voiceover? It was just something you came across like.
It was that ad, make 6 figures your first year.
Right, yeah. You were on Facebook one day, right? And saw someone selling a course.
So, my catchphrase is I'm an onion, man. I got so many layers. So I'm a painter and a sculptor and a musician and singer-songwriter. And I do lots and lots of things. And my very first band in college, I went to Natchitoches, Louisiana. I was on the football team down there. And the very first band, my very first drummer was Andy Field. I don't know if y'all know Andy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar. I'm not super familiar with musicians, but Troy,
he's a VO.
Yeah,
is he really?
He's a hand unit in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Anyway, we're friends on Facebook, and I see Andy posting stuff about voiceover all the time, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, but kind of cool. I kind of like it. I don't know what this is all about, so. I started asking him about it because I was a traveling musician, recorded. I'm familiar with that stuff and the equipment and all of that good stuff. So I thought, well, this might be a good fit. So he said he had a course. He's not teaching anymore. We're working on putting something together, but it was called The Business of Voiceover. And he said, man, you ought to take my class. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in. So did that like every Tuesday night for 16 weeks. It was a commitment.
Yeah. Well, voiceover is a commitment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So by the time we got out of that, I was off and running, man. And thank God, because Andy, and he's just been a really good friend and an excellent mentor over the years. I think no matter your business, if you get a mentor on your side, that you can ask the questions, you don't feel like you're bothering them. That's a big deal. A lot of people don't want to ask questions because they're afraid, well, I don't want to keep bothering this dude. And Andy was just super generous with his time and his knowledge and his talent. So that's what got me the head start for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think, I don't know if any of us have a mentor, but we the three of us got together because we're an accountability group, and that kind of led to us making this podcast. So kind of like it's important to have a mentor. We always say it's important to have an accountability group to kind of keep you sane. Have your water cooler friends, the people you'd go talk to about the industry, because you can't exactly go talk to your girlfriend or your spouse or anything or your friends even about voiceover, because they're just going to be like, okay,
They don't get
so
it. Yeah.
right, they don't get it. Right,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right.
Accurate impression.
Yeah, exactly.
What cartoon are you on?
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
question always.
Yeah. Well, that's really that's cool that you were able to connect with Andy and get that going. Do you find that voiceover, like, I guess they're probably rewarding in their own ways, but like, say when you booked your first voiceover gig, like, do you feel like that was more rewarding than like maybe like starting up your chiropractor practice? Like, what do you get out of voiceover that you may not get out of like, being a chiropractor or any of the other hats you've worn, so to speak?
Man, I don't know. That's a good question. That's like comparing apples to hammers, really.
Yeah, I bet. I know there's totally different worlds.
Yeah, because with chiropractic, I've got like 2 fellowships, which was big accomplishments for a healthcare provider, and that feels amazing, and that's awesome. But it feels different than getting your first big commercial where
sure.
when you hear yourself. Okay, so I was a traveling musician, and I've heard my music on the radio just traveling through town before.
That's sick.
And that is a buzz that is similar to voiceover. That I would say you don't get in chiropractic. I mean, you do have patients that they've hurt for years and they're headed to the surgeon, and you're able to turn their life around without surgery, and that's a certain kind of buzz for sure.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's pretty impactful. You change somebody's life for the better.
Oh, I imagine.
But it's different than when you're recording and your wife says, "Hey, you need to come upstairs right quick." And I'm like, "I'm busy. Why are you messing with me, woman?" And so I said, "Get up here." I'm like, "All right." So I went up there, and she had the TV on pause, and she unpaused it, and it's my voice on a national commercial, which I never seen before. Well, that's a certain buzz that you don't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to compare them. I think with any profession,
Sure.
if you reach a certain level, you're going to have your certain wins that are pretty special.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I guess the term I hear in the community is, I was caught out in the wild kind of thing. I've yet to experience that myself. I know I have stuff that's out there, but none of it's local to me, or maybe people have heard me and not realize it's me or whatever. But I'm, like I said, live in Texas, but everything I do is out in New York or Florida or Wisconsin, and so way far away from here. So,
I've actually had a Facebook friend. She reached out to me and she sent me a link, and I haven't talked to her in forever. She was younger than I was friends with her brother. And so on Facebook, she sent me a message and she said, "Hey, is this you? I swear to God, this is you." And it was me. It was a spot out in Florida. And I'm like, yeah, that was me. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's neat.
That is cool. You talked about your transitioning by teaching younger chiropractors so you can kind of fade into the bushes. Talk about the flip side of that. What are you doing in VO to ramp up to where you have a more even landing point when you do make that transition?
Man, I am doing everything I can. If you had, if there were a life hack or a VO hack, I would have found it by now. There's not. There's just not a shortcut. It's connections. It's who knows you. It's hard work and doing all the right things. But I do think there are things that you can do to shorten your runway a little bit. And I think that, so I'm with Celia Siegel Management. I think that, being a part of that is part of it. I think I've got probably, 7 or 8 regionals. You don't get a lot out of that, but you get a lot of opportunities out of that.
Yeah.
I think that coaching with, I hate the word gatekeepers because I don't think that describes them, but they're the ones that can change your life, And I think coaching with casting directors is important because they may not be gatekeepers, but they are those in the position of a certain amount of power and influence, And they say it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Right.
And so if you're coaching with these folks, and something comes along and they're like, no, Jeff's perfect for this. We did 5 sessions. Jeff would nail this. And they send it to me. Well, that puts me in an advantageous position versus other folks, right? So
exactly.
I think that there are things that you can do, in a wise fashion that can maybe give you a leg up. And so I'm doing all of that. And I've got a virtual assistant over in Pakistan, of all places, that helps me with email marketing and reach outs and stuff like that. Because, if I were full-time VO, full-time, then I would have the time to sit here and market and send out emails. And I'd be doing that because I'm damn good at it, really. But I don't have the opportunity to do that and market my clinic and treat patients and be a boss of 12 people or whatever it is. It's just, my life is nuts if you're not catching on. It is absolutely
Yeah, it definitely seems like that for sure. And we've talked about, people need to treat, if you're going to get into voiceover, you have to realize that it is a business. I mean, like if it's a hobby, that's one thing, but you're only going to get so much out of it. But if you're wanting to make it a career, you need to make it your business, and you have to run it as such. And, we've even looked at maybe hiring a virtual assistant because none of us really come from a marketing background. So we're all kind of having to learn, and we've all learned some different tips and tricks from different people in the industry about how they market, and some of these people, they specialize in that, marketing specifically for VO. And there's even the VA for VO, that group that's out there that, that's kind of cool. So it's definitely a big learning curve if you're not a business person, which I, for one, don't feel like I am a business person. So I've been and I have to make myself do it sometimes, like just get out there and do it, but it's all part of the game.
That's interesting.
I've been on him just to get a Google Calendar. That'd help him as much as anything. I can't get him to do it. I don't know what it is.
It's just this podcast guest when we have him on. That's the only thing I have issue with remembering. Everything else is automated.
It is a floating target. It does move around what day we record. So
yeah,
I'm glad you're saying that you make yourself do it, because I think the wrong kind of person would use that as an obstacle or a roadblock, and they say, "Well, I'm just not a business person, so I'm just not going to do it."
Right? Yeah, you can't have that mentality and expect to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Jeff, you might be our first guest we've had on that built a business before you built a voiceover business. For a lot of the guests we have, if voiceover wasn't their first, and it usually isn't, they were doing something, they were working for somebody else, right? You built your own chiropractor business, and now you're building another business as a voiceover business. Tell me what you bring from building a business the first time in a different sector, a different frame of mind. But what about building a business helps you build your voiceover business?
I think the biggest part of it is just being professional. Ask Troy. I was on this call before any of y'all got on.
It's true.
Beat us to the punch.
Yeah, just being professional, being trying to do things wisely, like I was mentioning before, trying to identify your opportunities and also understanding where your talents are and where your talents are not. I'm really good when my employees come to me and saying, that's not a Jeff question. That is a so-and-so question. Go and grab them. I'm good at delegating and stuff like that. I think marketing wise, like I've done a lot of work as far as marketing goes in the clinic. In fact, so this is my company's logo, and as soon as I'm done here, I'm going out to some urgent care clinics, and we're going to talk to them about seeing their patients that aren't a good fit for them. So I'm marketing is just, and hustling and reach outs are very, very common in my business. I've been doing it for 25 years. So there's a famous marketer named Dan Kennedy, and one of his sayings is, you can't just be a doer of what you do. You have to be a marketer of what you do. When we think of when somebody says hamburgers, most people are going to think about McDonald's. But does anybody really think McDonald's has the best hamburgers? Of course not. but they were the best at reaching out, getting their message out, and connecting with people. So
Right.
if we're not marketing and we're not marketing effectively, then you're not going to see any results. You're not going to grow. And there's also another saying that, and I hope this is acceptable on here. You can bleep it out if it isn't. But one of his sayings is you can't do business sitting on your ass, which means you have to be moving, shaking, hustling, and not just 1 week. It's got to be all the time. And
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what has really, really helped me get going and doing what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I took Paul Schmidt's marketing course, and one of the things he reiterates throughout is you got to do this every damn day. You got to get up and do it every damn day. And I mean, I agree. That's what it takes. Now, just to go back real quick, you are with Celia Siegel Management. What for someone? Neither of us have managers. We have agents, but that's different than having a manager, or at least in that respect. What are some of the things that you get out of having a manager? And I understand there might be things you can't necessarily reveal because if you're a part of a program or whatever. But what are some of the things that having a manager helps with in voiceover?
Man, that's a good question because I'm still figuring that part out as well.
Oh, great.
I love Celia. I love her team. I think there's a little bit of comfort that comes with being in good company. So if you look at the others on that roster, it's good to see your face alongside them.
Sure.
I think that it's nice to feel like you're part of something and you've got support. So I can always there's a little bit of crossover. So lots of times I'll get the same audition opportunities through Celia's group as I'll get from a regional or 2 or 3. Sometimes I'll get 5 of the same audition.
Right.
But yeah, so Celia is not just management; it's management and pretty much a talent agency as well. So I get lots of auditions through them, and I get useful feedback. Usually, when you send an audition back, you don't get any feedback.
Right. You get nothing. Crickets.
Unless you got unless you got
cricket.
Right.
But her girls, Jess and Aya and Jill, they'll send back messages going, could you do it like this way? Or here's my issue with this one. I think it'd be better if you did this. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And you just get a better opportunity there. They're real big in the political realm, which is, that's big money. So, I don't, is it going to change somebody's life to have a manager? No, I don't think so. But, because I don't think it's any different really than having, some of these regionals that I have. I haven't found it to be a lot different than that, but I like the feedback. I like the support.
Right.
I like being part of that family. And I branded my website through them. So if you go to jeffwilliamsvoice.com, you'll see a branded website that they did for me. And if you saw the website before the brand versus now, there's a huge, huge difference. Has it made that much? Yeah, I don't get booked through my website, but I like that there's that really polished professional thing there.
I'm looking at it right now, and I had it up earlier just to get a little bit of info on you before we started, and it looks awesome. Like the first thing you see is this, like, it's perfect. It's like this. It's kind of this might be the wrong word, but it's kind of like a rustic look. And he got this guitar, this glass of whiskey, this cowboy hat barrel along with it. It looks excellent. Like it is very well put together. Everything is easy to follow and read. And we've talked about it a little bit before. If you're going to actually passionately pursue voiceover, one of the things you do need is a great website. And we had JMC on a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we talked about him. We asked him, what do you think is king as far as, getting the opportunities or getting auditions? And he said, honestly, like you would expect me to say something like direct marketing, because obviously that's where you get the control. But really, I invested, some good money into search engine optimization and that has led to people just contacting him directly through that without him having to do the marketing side, because they'll land on his page and they can see everything that he has to offer, from his equipment, from his demos, from experience, everything like that, just like your website. And he said, honestly, that is reign supreme, because everyone has all their answers right there. And the only reason they need to contact me at that point is to give me a job offer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's very important. And that's in our accountability group, I've talked about. So one of the things I want to definitely invest in if and when I can is search engine optimization with my website. I feel like my website's decent, but I know that there's probably certain things that are wrong with it, and definitely things I could improve on. So looking at your website looks excellent. If that's something that they put together for you, that alone right there is there's a lot of value in that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll say it wasn't cheap. It was not cheap.
I imagine so. Yeah. For those listening, I don't want to set the precedent that you're going to go out there and get something as great as this for pennies.
I bought Celia's
professional branding's expensive.
I bought Celia's book. I bought Celia's book this last year and went through it. And when I worked with Brad Highland, he was going to fix me up with just a meet and greet session with her. And I said, let's wait on that, because I know how much she costs, and I'm not quite ready to drop that yet. But how great it is. Your website looks fantastic, and your branding is right on.
Yep.
I can tell you, again, from you asked me what from my professional life or the clinic has carried over into voiceover. And it's the knowledge that investing in your work pays back, and I was fortunate enough I never made any money off the pay to plays, but I was fortunate enough the first year that, and I know we don't talk about Fiverr and all that crap, and that's fine, but
we do.
I was just trying to, get my process down and trying to figure out how to take customers and make them happy and all that. And in the process, I made, I don't want to be gross and like say how much but I made over 100,000 the first year in voiceover, and it just
wowzers,
absolutely floored me, and was a blessing. But it also gave me the ability to go, you know what? That's money I wasn't counting on. I never expected in my life. I was gifted that basically for a reason. So let's pour that back into voiceover, and let's do all the things that we can do. I was coaching with Jay Michael, which I just absolutely love that guy.
He's a good one.
Not just because he's so influential. He is just such a generous. He's amazing. I haven't coached with him in a year and a half or 2 years, and I could send him an email tomorrow and he'd respond. And he would take time to do it. He's just that kind of person. But man, I invested in coaching. I invested in demos, and I asked him one time. I said, "Has anybody ever hired a PR person?" And he said, "No, not really. Not unless you're, making millions up there. I know some of those guys that have hired a PR firm for certain reasons." He said, "But no," he said, "but that's an interesting idea. You ought to do it, because I told you I was a traveling musician, and in that world, and I had a radio promotions company. Artists would pay me to promote their records. So I don't know if you heard of Turnpike Troubadours. They're a pretty big deal. I was their first radio promoter." And cool. Yeah, it really was. But anyway, so I knew a PR girl out in Nashville. And so I called her and I said, "What do you think about this?" And she said, "Let's do it." And I'm like, "All right." So I started paying her to do some PR and all of that, and got on some podcasts. And that's not how we got on yours, by the way. But and then, that kind of ran its course. But I'm just a big, big believer in being all the way in, man. If you're going to do something, I tell my kids, sculpting or music or whatever, I get eat up with it, and I'm eat up with voiceover too.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm like all in. I got the books, I know the podcasts, I know the YouTubes, and I go to all the conferences that I can, and I'm all in, and I don't mind investing in it either.
So you do go to some of the conferences. Which one of the more recent ones you've gone to?
So the first one was One Voice Dallas, not this last year, but the year before.
I was going to say I was there and I didn't get to meet you if you were there.
Yeah,
So
well, we'll fix that next time.
All right.
And then I went to VO Atlanta.
Awesome.
And
Super
saw
Bowl of
Troy from
voiceover
a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I missed this last one, Voice in Dallas, because we took a cruise to Alaska. So I missed that one. But I'm going to be I'm already got everything booked for VO Atlanta this year, and we'll be doing one Voice in Dallas in the summer. So,
have you done any breakout sessions yourself at any of these conferences? You have?
Yep.
Awesome. What just to get an idea, like what kind of session do you run? Like, what do you kind of teach or go over?
Well, I don't teach anything. I go to them to learn.
Oh, you go to them. Okay.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
apologies. I meant
Yeah.
like, have you created one and done one yourself?
No, I don't think people think I'm that cool yet, but maybe one of these days.
I don't know. After this episode, maybe so, man.
That's right. We're getting the inside scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, the business and marketing thing is a big deal to me because there are so many people that come out of they either come out of radio or this or that, and they don't really have the business structure, marketing structure, and that's where they suffer. And I think that's where Paul has this mission of there have been a lot of really good VO people who got in and they were good, but they got out because the business side beat them up. They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that was where he tried to develop his plan to help people at least get out there and market and do that stuff. It's hard.
It is hard.
He's right. It's hard. The branding thing is of interest to me because I let someone else brand me out of the gate. I was working with a coach. He flat out told me, this is your money read. This is where you're going to get the most booking. There's no doubt. And I don't remember how we came up with, the blue collar voice of choice. And then I had the cartoon thing made. And then here I am a couple years later going, man, I hope I hadn't branded myself in a corner. And I started worrying a little about it. But now I'm seeing some other guys come along, yourself, your stuff is branded in some of that direction. Dan Marion is branding somewhat in that direction. I think it's okay to be and associate. The blue collar doesn't mean that maybe we are the blue collar, but we represent that blue collar effort of hard work. We're going to bust our rear end for you. We're going to give you what you need, and we're down to earth, and we're just average every day, putting that voice out there for the American man. And it's fun.
I feel like in marketing, they'll tell you there's riches and niches, and don't say niche, okay? Because that drives me crazy.
I don't like that word either. I never have.
But there's riches and niches. They'll also tell you there's no way you can be everything to everybody, and you can't be an expert in everything either. So, and they'll also tell you that the market usually tells you where you belong the best and what you do the best. So the things that you book the most, that's probably what you ought to be concentrating on.
Jeez, Troy, did you get all your sayings from this guy?
Yeah, I got everything I've been talking about. A lot of us think alike this way. We do. I mean, it is what it is. I tell people all the time. They say, "Well, I'm just not sure what direction to go." I said, "All right, look at your last 25 bookings and categorize them. What are they, and which one has the most? And that's probably where you're the best, and that's where you should up your game in coaching. What if they're doing really good in narration stuff, but they think, well, I just really want to do commercial, and I've been coaching with this commercial coach and this. Well, maybe you need to go get a really good narration coach. Maybe you need a Tom Pinto or somebody like that to really work with you on that. You could ease into in-show narrations and things like that. But a lot of people don't. They have glamour on the brain of, I want national commercials. I want to do commercials. I want to be in video games. You know what? I just want to make a living. And it doesn't, wherever the industry points me, and I knew it would take a few years for me to figure that part out. And some of that I'm still working on. I went to a workshop 2 weeks ago, and they're like, why are you not doing more of this? Because I don't have an opportunity to do this. Well, you need to make those opportunities through coaching and a demo. Okay. So now I know it's something I should do.
And let's be honest, man. I like doing the spots that I'm most comfortable with.
Sure.
If somebody gave me an Audi commercial where I got to put on the sexy voice and, oh, look at this amazing car, would you, or something like that, versus, man, you got to have this beer. This is the beer for you. Well, that's way more comfortable for me than, and so if that's where I fit, because that's what I'm comfortable with, well, it makes my job a hell of a lot easier because I'm just do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and there's plenty of that out there. At first, I thought there's not enough blue collar Southern accent, this. But there is. There's quite a bit of that work out there. There's a lot of it. And what amazes me, there's certain areas of Canada that love a Southern accent. They even have a little bit of a Southern accent. And I didn't realize that. And I had done some outdoor stuff up there, and they were just crazy over it, and it led to some other things. You just never know. Never know.
Hey, let me ask you, Jeff, from a performance standpoint, when you were first getting into voiceover, was there something that you struggled with that you had to kind of overcome, and maybe a coach one day just said something that triggered that, kind of like you had like an aha moment, and that changed how you approach scripts, or that's changed how you would do your auditions or anything like that? Is there anything like that that for our listeners out there that are, just getting into it can go, oh, if this guy had trouble with this, then obviously it's something that you just have to overcome, because I find for myself, when I see people who I admire in the industry or look up to in the industry, with that they've had similar problems that I've had, getting in it, goes, oh, so it's just something that I have to learn and pursue kind of thing, humanizes you a little bit more,
Sure. I've always had a problem with rushing and just going too fast through the script. I've always had a problem with that for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. And I think in the beginning, having an idea of portraying something that I wasn't, more announcery than relaxed, and I realize all the scripts say no announcer, but there's a lot of announcer work still there. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that having an announcer presence and, a corporate business voice is fine, but that was like all I ever did, and then, so I think learning to kind of be more conversational, more casual, like we see in the audition specs. I think that was, kind of a breakthrough for me, especially. So I coached with Dave Walsh for a while, and Dave is amazing. He's got his True Tell thing. So I really, really enjoyed that. That helped me kind of get more, instead of a voiceover thing, more of the actor thing, because I don't come from an acting background. So that was super helpful. Then I coached for quite a while with Tina Marasco, and she helped me to really slow it down a little bit, take the breaks, because the commercial is going to have the visuals that need time to play out, and then, go through it with all of that kind of imagery in mind. I struggled with not having an acting background and going too fast, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool deal.
Yeah,
Well, that's
I identify with that quite a bit.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
We all
I talk
do.
very fast. Yeah.
My mouth doesn't work in fifth gear. It just, I want it to. My brain does, but my mouth can't. I got to slow down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been good stuff. I've enjoyed this. I like to hear. I think somebody that's like you're doing, you're carrying two different things, and this fascinates me because my first few years I was doing that. I was full time in manufacturing, and even traveling, having to get sent places. And then when COVID hit and all that slowed down, it did enable me to be at home and learn this and work at it. And like you said, the big thing, the big takeaway I hope everybody gets out of this, you can't get into this for nothing. Voiceover, you've got to invest. It's coaches. I know some people say, well, don't worry about your equipment. Don't worry. Yes, you do a little bit need to worry about it. You have to set up a space. You have to have decent equipment. You're going to be spending money. The first year, it may be $5,000, $10,000. And then you keep pouring it into the coaching the next years and getting better and figuring it out. This takes, and JMC has said it, everybody will say it, it is somewhere between a 3 and 5 year landing point that you're either hitting and you're making it and you're doing extremely well. And as Jeff talked about earlier, he had that launch that took off really, really well. Alden had the same thing happen, and then it leveled off. And he had to start saying, oh, crap, I got to start marketing and stuff, because you can. And we don't poo-poo Fiverr too bad on here, because all of us have, Jake didn't. He kind of got into it a little bit, but it was Fiverr, if you're late to the party, if you weren't in there in 2020, you're probably late to the party.
Yeah, I tried it out, and I'd already been making. I just couldn't do it.
You'd already booked too many good jobs to go through the ramp up.
Right. Yeah.
We went through the ramp up. I mean, I'm one of those people that can actually say, in truth and fact, I have over 4,500 YouTube videos out there playing.
Wow.
That I narrated, and they taught me everything. I can out edit any YouTube editor in the country because I can fly through that stuff now. But it also taught my eyes to get ahead, my brain to get ahead, my mouth to keep up. It taught me a lot, where if I was making 57 mistakes, they had to go back and fix the clicks and edits, then it became only 6 or 8. And it got really easy. But you got to pay those dues if you're going to do that kind of stuff. Make the money, invest the money, do this the right way. Don't embarrass the thing. I guarantee you, Jeff does not want either of the three of us to go out and open a chiropractic office tomorrow with no experience and no training. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So take heed to some of this wonderful advice of reinvesting, branding, all the things. Jeff's doing it the right way, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have him on, because I knew I had been seeing what he'd done. I saw his website before, and he's
it's nice.
I hope nobody saw mine before I got it cleaned up. They probably did. I still have some of the business cards and some of the notes that I was making here of all the impressions I could do, and it has nothing to do with voiceover. But at the time, I thought it did.
Right.
And I had the stupidest logo, but anyway.
Oh gosh, my logo and my brand has gone through.
And I'm looking forward to not being across the room from you at VO Atlanta this year. I'm a fly on the wall. I'm not really great at going up to people and talking to people. But if I follow Charles Coates around, he'll drag me to everybody and introduce me.
You'll know everybody in Atlanta when Charles is done with you.
Same way with Andy Field is the same way. He will talk to anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
He'll entertain an entire room. And I'm just sitting over there going, I'm with that dude. I'm
with them.
I'm terrible about going up and talking.
Yeah, I don't do great at that. And then at One Voice, JMC's asked me to present, and it's going to be really on beginning marketing for newer VO talent. We're just going to kind of give them a leg in. Here's how you go look for stuff. Here's how you get started. And I'm just blown away that I've got that opportunity to come present, because he mentioned me at VO Atlanta. He thought I was in the room, and it was actually Marco. I can't remember Marco's. How do you say his last name? Ragazzi?
Somebody that, if you squinted your eyes, would kind of look like Troy.
Kind of look like me. And he said, and there's Troy there, and he's doing targeted marketing, and he's doing this and that, and he's killing it like that, and I was in another room, and somebody comes tell me, JMC's in there talking about you. I said, well, I can't get there fast enough. Sorry.
That's hilarious.
But I do look forward to all of that, and I'm scared to death to present, but it'll be fun.
You got this.
I think, and it'll be good for people that have no clue what to do, and that's what I want to prevent. I don't want people to fall out because they're good at VO, but they're scared to market.
I can tell you this. So I teach on chronic pain. This is real nerdy, but my course is called Chronic Pain in the Upregulated Central Nervous System. And so I teach other chiropractors. And so, just like we've got VO conferences, we've got chiropractic conferences. So I teach at those. And the first one or two, pretty nerve-wracking.
Sure.
Because, those people are out there looking at you, and it's a little odd. Just pick somebody in the second row and talk to them, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, there you go.
You'll be better.
Yeah, we'll be okay. Alden, Jake, you guys, anything else? I don't want to keep this guy too long. If I was as busy as him, I wouldn't even come to the podcast.
Shoot, you got that right. Yeah, no, but
I feel also like some Airbnbs if y'all want to. If you need any Airbnbs in Texas.
Oh, that's awesome! This guy.
Did you get Andy into that? Were you the one that got him into that, or was that? Is it okay? Okay,
get an Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he got his first one going. I've been following that on Facebook. I really
want to do that
Andy.
eventually, but I'm nowhere near the ability to do that right now. But that was something
shoot me an email when you're ready. I'll help you.
Oh, yeah, you best believe it. I did want to ask you real quick, because I've always wanted to go on one. You said you went on an Alaskan cruise around the time of One Voice.
Beautiful.
Are you, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, my uncle and aunt went on one time, and I asked my uncle, what was one of your favorite parts? He said the sushi. So I don't know if the sushi is specific to the Alaskan cruise. I don't know, because you go up there. Great. Yeah. Are you a sushi eater?
I like sushi, but I didn't have any sushi on my Alaskan cruise, so I can't speak to that.
Oh, okay, good deal.
I can tell you that we went with my in-laws, and we were fortunate enough that her dad does very well, and so he just paid for all the kids and spouses to go.
That's
and
amazing.
it was on the cruise ship was called the Silver Whisper, and so a lot of the cruise ships that we saw there were these huge, 12-story, whatever, huge things with slides and stuff. Our thing was like, you have to wear a dinner jacket to dinner and all that. We had a private butler and all that. It was all very
nice.
Yeah. And there was only, guest wise, there was only 340 guests on the entire ship. There was like 280 staff. So it was super nice, not too crowded, and I loved it. One of the highlights is flying into Anchorage and taking the train down to Seward. The train has like glass roofs or ceilings and walls, and it's a 4-hour train ride, and it'll just knock your socks off, man.
That's amazing.
And
Beautiful.
then Alaska. So I've been to Hawaii. I've been all over the U.S.
That's awesome.
And I was expecting mountains and streams and, trees. I mean, things kind of look the same from area to area, but what I wasn't expecting was all of the water and, like waterfalls coming out of glaciers in the mountains. There's basically water falling out of the mountains and stuff everywhere. So it was just it delivered more than as advertised, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool,
That's great to hear.
I'd love to go. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law went a couple years ago, and they just said it was just outstanding, the scenery and everything.
Yeah.
Everything. If I could ever get out of Tennessee and Georgia, I'll go.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else? I know you said you got to get going here in a little bit. Do we have any questions from Troy or Alden? Anything like that?
I'm good. I'm
good. Yeah. If he had time to tell us about the experience getting his branding done with Celia, that would interest me. But I know we're drawing too short. That may be.
And you got
day.
the book. You read the book.
I do have the book, but I want to hear the firsthand.
Sure.
Shoot me an email. We'll hook up.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, then real quick, Jeff, where can people find you? I know we mentioned your website earlier. That was jeffwilliamsvoice.com. Are you on socials or anything like that? Anywhere else where people can, follow along with whatever you do?
I am, yeah. I Jeff Williams Voice Actor on Facebook.
Okay.
Jeff Williams Voice Actor. I try to be more active on TikTok, but damn it, I'm just not. I'm going to try to do better. But Instagram, everything is at Jeff Williams VO, I believe.
Okay.
Twitter as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best way to find me.
Awesome. Well, dude, this has been a great episode, and I'm excited for people to listen to this. And I'm sure that we will eventually link up. Yeah, I hope to run into you at One Voice Dallas. I had an opportunity to volunteer this year, so I did that, and I probably will do it again this year, if that all works out according to plan. So I'm excited to meet you in person, and awesome. Yeah. So again, thanks for being on, and I just wanted to say look forward to meeting you guys. Well, actually, all of you guys in person. I've yet to meet you guys too. But I look forward to meeting all of you at some point. But so for me, Jake, Alden, Troy, and then, of course, Mr. Jeff Williams, thanks again. This has been another VO podcast. You guys have a good rest of your night.
You've been listening to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm Alden Schenneberg.
And I'm Jake the Snake.
No, you are not. Settle down.
All right. I'm Jake Sanders.
And I'm Troy Holden.
Join us weekly as we spill the beans about our challenges being full-time struggling voice actors.
Yeah, and by the way, my girlfriend says you two better get it together, because she doesn't want me carrying you two on this podcast.
Saith the voiceover rookie himself. But be sure and join us on the next episode, because I guarantee it, Jake will do something worth hearing.
And what do you mean by that? No, really, what does that mean?
Dude, let it go. It's all right. It's all right.
Hey, where are you guys going? Hey, don't you kill the feed. Don't you dare kill the feed. Hey, where are you going, Alden? Troy, what are you...